Hello, it's time for Combat Patrol Carnage. We're back with issue 11, and today we have our lore articles. So we read about the Omnissiah, the god of machines. We also look at Tyranid bioweapons, both ranged and combat. And we have a short story all about Terminators facing off against Gene Stealers in a cramped, dark, confined environment. So, before we hit the table, don't forget to do all the usual. Like the video if you're enjoying the content, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and drop me a comment down below. Finally then, Combat Patrol Carnage is proudly sponsored by warbay.shop, your one-stop supply for all your hobby needs. They have a large selection of new and used armies and models for various different game systems. They also stock your hobby supplies and gaming aids as well. They're also suppliers of Combat Patrol. So if you want extra issues, get your orders in with them. They are taking pre-orders for up to, I think it's issue 20 to 30. So the Eldari and Chaos are starting to get advanced ordered. So yeah, check them out. There's a link for you in the description down below. And who knows, you might find your next hobby project at a bit of a discount. Right, let's head over to the table and we'll do some reading. Here we are back with issue 11, and here's our two new paints which we can put away now, as our models are now all up to date. So let's get into our new lore articles. So of course we're going to have to adjust the camera and we can get into some reading. Here we go, lore time. Here we are, Cult Mechanicus. An exploratory force of Adaptations Mechanicus warriors quest for lost knowledge. That's actually quite a cool looking force. You got these Skitarii Marshals, Skitarii Rangers, Vanguard in the background, the boat transport, Cerberus Raiders, the Taraxi, my favourite Folgarite Electro Priests, the Ornithopter and the Onager Dunecrawler. So a really cool looking force there. So here we go. In the 41st millennium, knowledge is not shared freely but closely guarded by the religious order of the Cult Mechanicus. This tech priesthood is responsible for keeping the Imperium's machines running. Under their stewardship, science and innovation have been replaced by ritual and dogma. Technology in the far future is dangerous and unpredictable, the legacy of many millennia of conquest by humanity. Over the years, the use of this technology has coalesced into the worship of the machines by the Mars-based Cult Mechanicus. The Cult Mechanicus is a faith within the Imperium. They still serve the Emperor as divine, but they have a culture of their own. Followers of the Cult Mechanicus regard machines above all else, and they reject the weakness of the flesh, replacing parts of their bodies with mechanical upgrades. They utilize bizarre technology in battles, such as radiation-spewing rifles or hulking battle crawlers. All citizens of the Imperium, including the Space Marines, share some of their faith, giving prayers to their weapons and war gear before battle and using incantations of operation on their combat vehicles. The Omnissiah. The dogmatic faith of the Cult Mechanicus is devoted to the machine god, also known as the Omnissiah. This is a mysterious divine being whose influence is felt through technology and through the motive force, and they believe drives all things. Most followers of the Cult Mechanicus regard the Emperor to be the Omnissiah, or at least a crucial vessel of the machine god's ineffable will. The activation of a dreadnought and the awakening of its pilot is a sacred and difficult ritual requiring many tech priests. Then we have what looks to be Imperial Fists, but could also be Tome Keepers. It's kind of hard to tell. And an Imperial Fist is a big black fist right at the back there. So yeah, my boys, the Imperial Fist, the Sons of Dawn. There we go. A ancient fallen warrior being roused for battle inside a dreadnought sarcophagus there. Moving on a little bit about the Tyranids and their bio-weaponry. Every tool, ship, and weapon used by the Tyranids is a specially adapted organism or even a cluster of symbiotic organisms working as one. Tyranid weapon creatures are grotesque and horrifying, having been purpose-bred by the hive mind to work as effectively as any bolter, lascannon, or chainsword. To understand the alien is to know only horror. Tyrannofexes are living tanks armed with huge bioweapons. The Tyranids have a weapon for every enemy, and they are as varied as the Tyranids themselves. As the hive mind adapts its armies to crush its prey, so too does it adapt the tools of war those armies wield. Tyranid bioweaponry has many advantages over conventional weapons. Many fire searing acid or gnawing creatures capable of finding cracks in the very best armor. Tyranids need not worry about supply lines or reloading. Their weapons simply breed more ammunition. Meanwhile, firing such a weapon requires only a predatory impulse from the wielder. Now we have a few of their different weapons. So ranged weapons. Tyranid firepower is more than a match for that wielded by the Imperium. From insect-spewing sidearms to huge anti-armor cannons, the Tyranids have ranged weapon for any foe they should encounter. Fleshborer. Fleshborers fire hard-shelled, flesh-eating beetles. Once they have made contact, they furiously burrow into their prey with horrific effect. Devourer. A devourer is a chunk of necrotic flesh that is home to thousands of maggots. These are sprayed on distant foes to consume their flesh. Heavy venom cannon. Venom cannons are unusual and highly effective bioweapons used by the hive mind to shatter armor. They fire crystals of solidified acid that strike the target at enormous speed. Any tank not destroyed by the initial impact find their armor corroded by the venom itself. Living ammunition. Many Tyranid weapons fire living organisms. Some attack their target upon contact. Others have veins or fins that let them change direction mid-air or can detonate on command. Melee weapons. The Tyranids are deadliest in close quarters. Nearly all Tyranids possess a melee weapon, all the better for tearing apart their prey up close. These are simpler than Tyranid firearms, but no less dangerous. Scything Talon. Countless Tyranids possess one or more pairs of scything talons. These are simple but effective modifications that let the wielder attack with great speed. Rending Claw. Rending claws are diamond hard and can easily tear even Terminator armor. They are often found on vanguard organisms, such as gene stealers. Bone swords. Bone swords are biological analogies to power swords. They are wreathed in a wave of psychic force that blasts apart the souls of the Tyranids' victims. So yeah, some very deadly weaponry for the very deadly Tyranids there. And I have a feeling we're about to find out just how deadly some of those weapons are, as we are about to read our newest piece of fiction, Into the Dark. Phaeus strode forward, his eyes locked on the blackness before him. Even his Terminator armor's advanced auto-senses failed to penetrate the gloom. It was as if this too was another part of the Tyranids' defense. Even clad in the best technology the Imperium had to offer, he was relying on his wits to survive. Catching the flash of a claw in the black could mean the difference between life and death. The ground had softened here. He did not need to look down to know that at his feet was a thick carpet of biomass. What remained of the Tyranids' victims and the vile growths that had been made from their flesh. An ordinary Space Marine would have struggled to push through the mass, but the sheer bulk of heavy Terminator warplate allowed the squad to force their way through. This was the most delicate stage of a boarding operation, choosing where to make their stand. The right spot was crucial. Here, where the passages were narrowest, the Terminators could swiftly be overwhelmed, for they would be unable to bring all their weapons to bear. Phaeus saw something move in the darkness. The Tyranids had not been dormant. They had been waiting for the best opportunity to attack. His order to the squad was clear. "Combat positions. Keep moving. We cannot defeat them here." Termagants burst into action from seemingly every angle. They squeezed out of gaps between panels through ventilation shafts, and even through the flooring. Phaeus timed each volley of his Stormbolter carefully. Every shot would need to be a kill. He lacked the ammunition for anything less. Positioned just so, the huge bolts could pass through multiple bodies at once before detonating to cause further damage. Phaeus strode forward, not in fear and not full of battle lust, but coldly calculating where to place his next shot. Still, the termagants were drawing closer, and Phaeus could hear larger bioorganisms scrabbling into action in the gloom. He held his squad. "Hermes, upload the vessel's floor plan." The Terminator did so. Phaeus could see the ghostly outline of the Imperial vessel overlaid on his view screen over the swarming mass of the termagants. He split his attention. As one part of his mind kept up the killing, another scanned the vessel. The Sanctus Imperialis. It was wide open, but too far. Perhaps the Enginarium? No, the Tyranids would have clustered around its heat. Phaeus was running out of options. He brought up his power sword, energized the blade, and scythed through a rank of termagants. They were almost upon the Terminators now. He checked the vessel's plan again, and then it struck him. The torpedo tubes. They were near the gun deck. The vast breaches of the ship's guns would provide ample space in which to fight. Phaeus marked the coordinates and gave the order. "Trust in the Emperor, your brothers, and in your hate." Terminators explore the depths of an infested starship. The Terminators pressed forward in a single column of ceramite. As they closed in, Phaeus could hear the squealing as the joints of their powered armor strained to push forward. The Tyranid dead were almost as dangerous as those that lived. They snared around the Terminators' legs and slowed their progress. Meanwhile, more and more of the beasts surged in from behind. The Terminators were in sight of the torpedo tubes now, but the Tyranid swarm was too dense. They clawed against Phaeus' armor, and while most of the blows failed to do much apart from scrape the paintwork, damage indicators in the sergeant's helm noted more than more concerning injuries. A good blow to the joints could cripple Phaeus. A well-placed strike to the armor's power plant could leave him entombed in it, unable to move. He voxed the squad. "Combat doctrine. Maximum brutality. Hold nothing back. We fight our way to the tubes or we die." The air crackled as the disruption fields that sheathed the Terminator's power fists were engaged. The sheer force of these energy fields was enough to turn the termagants to ash. They beat a bloody passage through the swarm, finally clearing the tangle of broken bodies. The Terminators made their way to the colossal torpedo tube, with one of Phaeus' troops shattering the maintenance hatch that permitted access with a single strike. The tube was empty, its payload long spent in some forgotten war. An excellent killing ground. The Terminators turned and formed a line. The Tyranids surged forward, and Phaeus barked an order over the squad's Vox channel. "Switching tactics. Engage Devastator doctrine. Overlapping fields of fire. Courage and honor." The Tyranids screeched, only to be drowned out by a hail of bolter shells and assault can slugs. The Terminators would not stop until the entire swarm lay broken and dying at their feet. Terminators formed a defensive line against a horde of Tyranids. So there we have it. Hopefully not the end of this story, as it's getting to the good part. X998B71-C-27 Drifting Death. Tyranids often infest fallen Imperial ships. Many a salvager has fallen prey to concealed broods of waiting Tyranids. It falls to specialist troops like Terminators to clear these hulks, so they may be returned to service. So yeah, really hope we get a second part, but we do get at least the Terminators in our next 2 issues. So we'll be able to hopefully soon live out this story as we get to crush termagants. Up next though, we have our gaming tutorial, so that is it for this video. So a big thank you to everyone for watching, and a big thank you to Warbay for sponsoring the series. Surprisingly, my voice held up to do the reading, but yeah, glad we got through that. I hope you found this video helpful and have enjoyed it. So until next time, thank you again for watching, and I will see you on the next Combat Patrol Carnage. Goodbye.